Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I've had to make some decisions and have done some soul searching, and I'm going to sell my project cars and I'm going to buy a van, and I may or may not convert that van to four-wheel drive, and I may or may not do a complete and utter conversion on the inside. I found a hollowed out high top 78 E250 3/4 ton a couple hours north of here, and 3 cars is too much. I bit off more than I could chew. It sucks to admit that sort of thing, but I don't have a shop here. I don't have a place to store these cars. It's just proving to be a bit much for a guy who doesn't have a really broad mechanical skill set. I've learned a lot working on the Travelall over there, working on the Celica and the Pinto as well. The Pinto is off-site because we need places to park. Anyway, I'll catch you up on where I'm at with the Celica. Excuse me. It's pretty well cleaned out in here. I washed the windows and tried to scrub everything down the best I could the other day. I did end up replacing the ignition cylinder there. Got the car turning over, but we've got no spark, which I believe, let me open this up here. I believe that our problem lies in this igniter assembly here, which is the ignition coil with a bunch of voodoo attached to it. I took a multimeter and checked out the distributor, and I feel like I did a pretty good job determining that it was either the igniter or something in the ignition switch, but the ignition switch works great with everything else. So the implication is that maybe there's a ground in there somewhere. Maybe the distributor's grounded. I'm not sure. It's not sending a signal or what. I'm not electrically experienced. Would that be a good way to phrase that? So I have somebody coming this afternoon, and they're buying this Celica. I took out the spare tire where there had been some surface rust. I wire wheeled it and primed it. There are some really small pinholes in here, but that's the only through rust I found on the entire vehicle after scouring it and cleaning it and doing everything I've done. So then the next issue is this Travelall. And it's funny, I got a call yesterday from a guy in Vermont, previous owner. One of his friends had told him that they saw that his old Travelall was for sale, and he called me yesterday and we spoke on the phone for an hour, and it was a delightful conversation, and he sent me a ton of old cool pictures of this thing out in the wild camping. But it's just not practical for me right now, and what I need to do in my finances and my family life. So I'm gonna let them all go, and it kind of, you know, once again I've set myself up for some sort of heartbreak and regret that I'm selling all these super cool old vehicles. But the reality is that super cool old vehicles still need maintenance, and parts are hard to get and expensive, and I happen to choose vehicles that either A, there are no parts available, or B, they're just prohibitively expensive, let's say. You know, if I wanted to buy a new igniter for that Toyota, I can find one for like 150 or 180 on eBay, and it's like rusty and looks 45 years old, and I really don't want to put a 45-year-old part in there. There's a GM conversion of the igniter, which I believe is pretty cheap, but then you need to get a heat sink and generally a different coil, and they're not known to be the best functioning. They do still encounter issues. And then I found a DUI distributor for the 20R engine, which replaces both the distributor and the whole ignition coil igniter assembly, and that seemed like a good choice. But then again, you know, looking into things like window seals and whatever, they're expensive, and I just can't afford to do a full restoration. That car is a really good candidate for a full restoration. I don't even think Travelall is that great of a candidate for a full restoration unless you're a body worker and welding comes easy to you, and so your time spent doing the body work would offset whatever money you had into it. And as far as the Pinto goes, the Pinto's just a little basket case. It's parked off site. I'm going to sell that guy for, try and get what I paid for it, maybe a little bit of a loss just to move it along. And then I'm getting into this high top van, which those are pretty hard to come by. And it's more in my skill set, you know. I think many of you who are subscribed to my channel started following along because I was building an MCI coach, a big bus. Well, I'm gonna go back to those roots and buy a van that runs, that I can get around in, that parts are pretty available for, you know, somewhat common. 78 Ford isn't that impossible to find parts for, at least not versus a 77 Celica or a 65 Travelall. Yeah, and I like the interior building and the cosmetics more anyway. I'm not super mechanically inclined. I can figure things out, but it's been really stressful for me and kind of depressing. And my private life situation is dictating that I do something more with a van where I can take my sons or my wife out camping. A 4x4 conversion looks like it's going to run about 14 grand if I pay somebody to do it and bring it down to Salt Lake, which is a lot of money. But I'd rather put my eggs in one basket so that I can park it, you know, like I can put the van where the Travelall is and work on it and be okay with that. Even if I don't have a shop or a place for my tools, it will be a lot different than having 3 project cars on a small property that we're renting. And we're right across the street from a busy school, so parking has been an issue. So I have to start downsizing, and it breaks my heart because I was all excited. You know, I got some cool cars and I was looking forward to, you know, racing around in that little Toyota. I was looking forward to taking this Travelall deep out into the woods, but again, I just can't spring for the money in the Travelall. I'm scared to break anything on it because it's so hard to get. Some things you can't get. You know, I break one of those back windows and I'm out of luck for the most part. Or, you know, a gas tank for this thing is $1,000 if you want one that's factory or pretty stock. So maybe that's enough babbling for now, but once again, this channel is going to be changing. I guess I go crazy. I change my mind. I have adult ADD or something similar where my attention gets sidetracked, or, you know, I guess in the end I took a wrong turn and went down wrong path and bought a bunch of project cars, and now I'm gonna go buy this cheap van and put the money from the project cars into a van that can be something that we can actually use on a regular basis, will help me get back into my photography, will get me back out staying places in the woods, which is really where I want to be. So thank you all for watching. I hope you'll tag along for this new leg of the adventure, and I'll keep you posted on what's shaking. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.